Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank everyone who's joined us today via Oz Arab Media's live stream and who are tuning in via Oz Arab Radio. To everybody who's watching on our platforms today, please feel free to leave questions in the comments section and we will answer as best we can. My name is Joseph Major and we are joined today by a special guest, First Nations leader and community leader based down in Bankstown, Uncle John Dickson. He's joined us today to discuss the upcoming Voice Referendum and its impact not just on the Indigenous community, but on all Australians. Uncle John, thank you for joining us. How are you today?
Thank you very much. May I say, I welcome the country.
Of course.
Welcome all to this land. Now, understanding welcome the country is a welcoming to on the land and respect the land and also the people of that land. I give my respect to past elders, present elders, and future elders to be in this land of Dunghutti land of the Eora Nation.
Thank you.
So we can proceed now.
Thank you, Uncle John. That was beautiful. So now the voice referendum. Now that it's been approved, can you tell us a bit about its main points and what it stands for?
Well, I believe the legal requirements and the biggest legal paper that is in Australia is the Constitution. That there alone is a foundation of our society in Australia. The point of that, it left us out as a people. Everybody else was invited to, and regardless where they're from, but us people that have been on this land for many thousands of years, not shown, not cared, not given, not made to be part of the Australian society until 1967. That's where we became legal citizens of that time frame. The referendum is a point from the people, so that there's a clear message not only to the politicians but to the government entities themselves. So having this referendum, it is a very understanding focal point for us to move forward. By us having that voice in a political aspects in Australian culture, I reckon it's highly valued and it should be utilised, especially for all the things that us as a people have came across with such things as discrimination because of your race, discrimination because you're a mother, so that was a point of taking your child away, discrimination because you are an Aboriginal person, plain and simple. But yet I look at it like this: in reflection, if it wasn't for us Australian as Aboriginal people, Australia wouldn't be here. Plain and simple.
Yes.
So my point is that the way an Aboriginal society is run and how it's run for the people, by the people. So everybody's got their freedoms. Everybody enjoy their freedoms, and everybody enjoy their position to have families, to enjoy their environment, enjoy life. That's the biggest part of that's been set back us as a people before the referendum. Those deniabilities that happened upon us, it's still felt today. So the points I'm standing up for, it is need to be recognised, a fundamental recognition that Aboriginal people and Torres Strait Islander people are the first people that are here. Our connection to the land our connection to the waterways, our connection to the animals that live on this land is very endearing and a long time for us because we shape this land. We shape it. We do fire farming, understanding the waterways, understanding the animals, what they need, this and that, so that our society can move forward. So with this referendum, it'll help moving our voice forward to where it matters the most.
If the voice is passed in the referendum, do you believe it will be a successful form of government? How relevant do you believe the voice will be in considering future government decisions if the voice is passed?
Well, you got to look at it like this as well, too. You honestly think that all Australia is being explored as well? No, it hasn't. I mean, the way I look at it, it's only been explored probably 60%, like as compared to non-Aboriginal people. But to Aboriginal people, it's all explored. So the way we can move with this, with the voice and understanding its application for us as a people, it's not for against other people. It's for us to heal and mend with each other, because I believe that all of us unite, it will be the most best thing for this country. If we are all united over this, we'll have the best of it. Because why? Because we have people that have care and concern for everybody that lives in Australia. That's what my main concept is.
It's beautiful. Based on what you've heard and learnt about the voice, are there any aspects of it that you don't like or don't approve of?
One of the aspects is that I don't like is that in the voice is that separating people, saying that Aboriginal people are the first Australians and then everybody else is second. No, that's not what the voice is about. The voice is about us maintaining a presence on this land that we have developed ourselves. No one else came here to develop this land because we had the biggest amount of flora and fauna on this land. We have like you had a goanna that was the size of a double-decker bus. Yeah, you had a wombat as the size of one of those big utility vans, weighing in something like 5 ton. So all these type of animals, and the marsupial lion, all these animals that, if you're in Russia, you'd be facing bears and polar bears, wolves, and the Siberian tiger. When people get together and then start formulating their society, they want to make their home all good and safe, so the future generations will have no problems in the future. That's why you won't find any marsupial lions in Australia anymore. That's why you won't find any Tasmanian tigers anymore. And you won't find any of these big goannas that used to be roaming around on this land, and really big snakes that's like, 60 feet long, 80 feet long. You won't find that. Because why? Because it's us people, as Aboriginal people and Torres Strait Islanders, cleared the land of that. And also maintain the environment, all the trees, the plant life, and understanding what could it be utilized for medicines or for ceremonials or for utilizing in an artwork. So All these things take in consideration when you're making your society together. So by making your society safe and understanding that this is the reason why we're doing these things, because there's a danger there, and that danger will come towards us. So in my reflection on this, if we have this in the voice in Parliament, that will stop any future generations down the track, any troubles down the track. Because why? Because we're right in the Constitution itself. It's written in there. It is written in there for Aboriginal people, for our great nation of Australia, because this is a very great land. We welcome people from all different walks of life, invite them to come in here, but I find it very amazing that they are very interested in finding out about Aboriginal culture and trying to understand about Aboriginal ways. I find that very, very enlightening. You have a group of other people from a different land that want to be interested involved in with us and understand us and want to be in part of us, because to me that looks like, to me, that's what you call unifying together. Because when I was growing up, you never had that type of thing. You never had that graciousness of understanding Aboriginal culture, or people were willing to teach you that Aboriginal culture, because that wasn't allowed when I was growing up. Whereas today, I'm very grateful that we're having NAIDOCs, that we're having reconciliation days a week, and sorry days. I enjoy and like, and reflect and look in here in Bankstown. We got so many different of nationalities that live in the Bankstown area. To me, it's good, because I get to share something from my culture. You get to share something from your culture. We're all sharing. That means caring. So we're breaking the barriers down. They want to be interested in knowing me as an Aboriginal person, not just some person, just a number. And then they get to exchange their cultural things. And I understand. I liked when they exchange some words to me, like of their language, because I like to exchange my words of my culture to them too. So by that sharing and understanding, you build a better society, and look at the cultural wealth that we have. We have the most unique animals in the world, the rarest animals in the world. We have the most unique culture in the world, where they have the most diversities of environments in Australia. We've got deserts, we've got rainforests, we get snow, we've got mountains, we've got bushlands, we've got forests, we've got all type of environments. It goes to show that how much Aboriginal people are willing to still share, even though we had been put through some troubled and bad times in the time of, like, my father wasn't even considered a human being. It was considered part of the flora and fauna. My grandmother had to get a dog license to go and see her sister, who's only 3 k's away. She had to get a dog license to go and see her. So, like, this are the things that, like, of my understanding, like, even my own grandmother is probably one of the rarest person out. Still was born underneath a tree. She wasn't born in a hospital. My grandma was born underneath a birthing tree. So we have many different, like, understandings of this and that, but also too, when push becomes push, we also stood up with all other non-Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. We all stood up together. We fought during World War One. We fought during World War Two. We fought in Korea. We fought in the Malaysian conflict. We fought in Vietnam. So, what part can you say that we're just lazy type of style people, where your average Australian thinks like that, like thinking that there's nothing this and that. But I find it very funny that you got non-Aboriginal people that lives out in rural areas, living in the countryside out there, doing farming and that, but their kids don't want to farm. They want to go into the big city, get a big job, and that's it. But yet they've got Aboriginal people living out in that land out there, and yet they're not given any opportunity to be a plumber, to be a mechanic, to be an electrician, to be a diesel mechanic. All these nice, wonderful jobs, yet there's no formation of that. And yet those people want to stay in their area because that's their homeland. That's where their land is. So they don't want to move. So, but yet opportunities for them to be brought forward this and that. They'd rather get someone from another country to go move in those rural areas, rather than hire the Aboriginal person that's been living there for God knows long. So there's a lot of aspects of this and that, and I can go all day about that. But the biggest part of this is that I'm looking forward to is the unification of us as a nation properly. Because it's got to start with the voice. Second, the treaty. Third, the truth. Because when I was going through school, they didn't talk about what Captain Cook did. They didn't talk about what Captain Governor Phillip or Governor Macquarie. All those all those type of historical things, this and that. They don't even talk about why Manly is named Manly. So, in the points of like this and that, in my term of when I was growing up and understanding our history in Australia, basically, you couldn't be a proud Aboriginal person at all, because you're taught that your people are nothing but troublemakers. Your people are nothing but alcoholics. Your people are nothing but drug users. Your people are got nothing. Fancy that. Really? I like to beg to differ. Because why? We know about our fires. Because apparently non-Aboriginal people don't seem to understand that we're going to always have bushfires. But it's a matter of how you mitigate that bushfire. And the way that we mitigated those bushfires is simply doing our burnings in the wintertime, making sure that there's no fuel for when the summer hits and the heat hits and there's no big bushfires happening. Simple, easy understanding information. And yet the governments of every state and the federal government does not recognise properly. It's only because why? Why they all of a sudden they're recognising now? Oh, because Ash Wednesday, Black Saturday, like those massive bushfires that devastated the nation. So such information and understanding of things, this and that, and that's only just one. Can you imagine the rest that could be utilised in our Australian society? But the thing is, such things have to be asked. And it's a matter of how we negotiate those things. Because we got no problem about teaching, understanding, and the ways of life. And they think that Aboriginal people are just in incompetent, angry, sad people. I'll tell you, I had a hard struggle of a life as an Aboriginal person. I had a hard struggle of a life knowing that my mother could have been one of those that were stolen. And even myself, my mother was even very frightful and fearful of me being stolen when I was born. Because it's only been a few years when we became citizens, but the actions of the police and state governments were doing, they were still doing that, even all the way up to 1972. Even though we became citizens, same thing, like that should be like you're kidnapping your fellow Australian. That should be I don't know about you, but I think there's a law against that. That's the same thing with John Howard did. Put an intervention on Aboriginal people. So when we start looking at the politicians and this and that, and gathering the people to have to be on part with us, and so that we all walk together and sharing the same path. That's the part I like. That's the part I want. That's the part I want my grandkids to understand and have. To me, life is hard. Why make it harder? Life is already difficult. Why make it difficult upon yourself? Why make it harder for yourself? Whereas this, a simple understanding, a simple way of treating one fellow person to the next is the best way of doing that. Right. And by us having that voice in the Constitution, guarantees those things, guarantees the ways. But I can't give it 100%. I'm for the yes for the vote, but some of the wordings that needs to be fixed up, because I don't want people thinking that we're the best, we're the first Australians, and we're the best, and that's it. No, that's how you cause disharmony, a division amongst peoples. I don't want that.
Before we continue, I would just like to remind our viewers that if you would like to ask a question, you can do so on wherever you're streaming this interview currently, and we will do our best to answer them. First off, thank you for that answer, Uncle John. It was from the heart, and obviously we appreciate the sentiment behind it. But just to conclude that area of conversation, what you mentioned, is that the same, I'll say, dissatisfaction that other members in the Indigenous community have expressed towards the voice?
Yes, because partly, one, limited understanding. Two, the promotion of the Liberal Party to diss the notion of Aboriginal people to be in the Constitution. That's what's sitting at with the Liberal Party. And to me, if we organise ourselves and put our best foot forward and walk down that path, so that we make sure as a nation that we look after not only the truth, because the whole truth, the foundation on that makes Australia, is all false. It's all false. Captain Cook came here and saying that this was Terra Nullius. There's no Terra Nullius here. There was people here. And then they end up bring the worst type of people from their society to here, this land. we got very strict rules. We got strict laws, but none of that was taken into consideration. But they wanted us to feed them. They wanted us to look after them, especially in the early 5 years of the of the colonists that came here. So with the other Aboriginal people that don't seem to understand, or getting told disinformation or false information, to me that's a problem. Not having a look at it yourself and understand it the best you can. If you can't understand it the best you can, ask somebody who knows a bit more. Ask them the question. Engage with them and inquire, why is this? Why is it so? So
I'll just say now, you actually just got a question from a viewer. So Edgar has just asked, why do people need the voice? Can't Aboriginal people just get a vote in Parliament like everyone else?
well, how much time do we really have? Do you really want to hear all the sad? No, I'm just saying to the question, because there's not much time. The time for you to understand that question is not applicable. Because why? Very simple. This is our land. It would have been a different story if they would have asked to be here. And then we'll have a different style of government altogether. Because that would have been in a dual ownership over this. But because we were here, we farmed this land. We cultivated the animals. All that work took thousands upon thousands. That means our blood is in this soil. Our people are buried on this land. And you mean to tell me I cannot? And say, oh, you just have your thing over there? No. We've given quite a lot. Like I said, we've given our young men to fight in the wars. Our people been put into a form of enslavement to formulate with dissertation services for rich white families. So how much more do you want me to go about it? Sorry, good sir, but this is needed, and this healing needs to be done, because at the end of the day, we only got a sorry from one person. Got a sorry from Kevin Rudd. That's a very important one, but I would like the people to know the truth. That's why I say that. You got the voice, you got the treaty, and then you got the truth. Now, if people understand the truth about Aboriginal, what's been done to Aboriginal people by Australian people and also by the Australian government, those are things that I believe needs to be heard and listened to by everybody in Australia.
Well, Uncle John, I'd like to thank you for your answer, and Edgar, I'd like to thank you also for your question. And just another reminder, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to ask a question, just leave in our comment section. Before we go into that, I do have one more official question I'd like to ask you. And this is also other opposition I've heard to the voice from people I've spoken to. And their main opposition is the fact they believe it would slow down an already very bureaucratic and big government. Do you believe there are solutions that can be put in place to curb this issue?
Well, pretty much a lot of people knows how the bureaucratic red tape works.
Yes.
So the way I rather do it is I rather get a stick of dynamite, stick it to the bureaucratic red tape and blow it up, because it doesn't help anyone. It's not utilized really properly. Now, if you get it utilised properly and it's working properly for the peoples, then you won't have disinformation. Then you won't have dissatisfaction on people like needing to know things and also needing services. And that understanding of those things is a crutch of the matter of things, because you'll come across in people's that would be very willing to give you no service, no acknowledgement at all. To me, that brings disharmony. Now, if we have people that in the bureaucratic red tape that work properly, do things in their work, looking out for the person that they're servicing for and helping for, there, like I was saying, you'll get a full understanding of how things are and what they are. But as soon as you want to start sticking your head in the hole, problems still going to be there. Issues still going to be there. It's best to deal with the issues and the problems every time they come into your focus. Deal with them, then there's less problems for the people down the road, especially the next generations, because I'm hoping for the best for the next generations to be more knowledgeable, to be more intuitive, to have understanding. I'm not talking about my feelings, this and that. No, to have that understanding and empathize and show you got them. You're backing those people up. You show them the comfort of you as a person, and then when you unite together, it shows the comfort that you have for everybody in society. That's how you go about things, I do believe.
We have another question from a viewer. So Mariam asks, can you give an example of how the voice would actually work in government? How is it applied concretely?
Right. Now, I dare say it would be dealing with Aboriginal people and Torres Strait Islander people specifically in their matters. Like, so I believe that the way forward with the boys, its intention is to establish a right to Aboriginal people and Torres Strait Islander people. Also, to give and show information about Aboriginal culture and Torres Strait Islander culture towards the peoples. Another one. Also, they've got to deal with the environment, because a lot of things around in Aboriginal things that which some of us are still fighting for our land rights on things because they're sacred land. Now, that's got to be looked into as well, because even though this land is so big, but in reality, with such a small percentage of population, we're not really utilising a lot of land mass, are we? But there's a lot of land mass that is declared sacred that needs to be organised, and it also needs to organise how to go about with Aboriginal awareness and culture without disrupting or being destructive, not only to the peoples, but also to the land and seas and waterways.
Yes. To my understanding, from what I've heard about how the voice would function, is it would essentially be a collection of First Nations leaders across the country providing their perspective and their point of view on Indigenous matters throughout the country. For example, if government wants to build in a certain area, it'll have to be reviewed by First Nations leaders to determine how historical it is to them. So that would, I'd say, primarily be one of the main points of how the voice would function in government.
That's right.
Miriam, I would like to also thank you for your insightful question. And I'll just check to see if we have any more. Okay. Nope. All right, we have gone through our questions. To the people who asked questions and to everybody who's watched or listened to this interview today, I would like to say my sincere thanks to you. And I would also like to say my sincere thanks to Uncle John. You were a pleasure to have. And I think everybody can appreciate how personal you made this interview. You spoke from the heart, and I think lots of people appreciate that, especially when considering whether they're going to vote yes or no in the upcoming referendum. And on behalf of Oz Arab Media, I'd also like to say thank you.
Well, I'd like to say a big thank you and an appreciation for Oz Media and being involved. And thank you, Joseph. And Chabelle, don't forget Chabelle. I know you're
I'll
there.
never forget Charbel.
So, and that's right. It's not only just the voice is not only just for the people, it's also for the environment. And this is how we're going to work things out and how we can do things properly. Now, if we do it properly now, our future generations will say thank you to us because we make the right decisions.
Yes.
And that's, I'd like to give a big thank you for all the people that are listening out there. Thank you very much. And thank you for being so considerate and with the questions as well. Thank you very much.
Once again, thank you. Take care, everybody.